In this May edition of Bike Industry News, I'm going to go through some bad news, some good news, some local news from E-Mountain Bike Review. What's up, everybody? I hope you are doing well. FC here from E-MTB Review, and we have some good weather, a lot of riding, and a lot of stuff going on. If you are interested, subscribe to this channel. I do a weekly news now, but I do a lot of product reviews. And if you want to support me, there's going to be links in the description. If you're going to purchase anything, it helps our channel out. First is a piece of good news about the growth of the e-bike industry. In Austria, it was just announced that 57% of bike sales are now coming from e-bike. I think this was last year. And it is a 5% increase over the year before. And the number here that's really striking to me is 57% of bike units are now e-bike. And if you took revenue, which e-bikes cost more than regular bikes, the entry point's higher, it's going to be like much higher. 70 to 80% are now from e-bikes. So this is something I saw at Eurobike 10 years ago, the growth of e-bikes. And this is actually why, I started this channel, E-MTB Review, because I know there's a lot of hate, a lot of difficulty transitioning in the USA, especially 10 years ago. But there was only one direction where this is going. It's the growth of e-bikes, the growth of these devices that are enabling, that are so much fun and enable so many possibilities. So 57% is still growing. What's going to happen in the USA? I think we're like at 20% right now. But I think, where do you think it's going, and where do you think it's going to plateau? Both in unit sales and revenue. And are you still thinking about e-bikes? Are you on the fence, considering what's this guy talking about, or are you fully onboarded now? All right. Second piece of news is some good news that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Garmin Q1 revenue increased by 11%, and Thule increased by 10%, despite some North American concerns in our market. So, starting to grow, the recovery is slow, but it's starting to happen, especially if you're innovating, if you're a market leader, offering some unique stuff in the bike industry. Okay, that's about the length of the good news that I have. Some bad news, we'll start small. Shimano is scaling back on their apparel. So Shimano clothing, not shoes, just the clothing that they've been working on, and they have a lot of, a couple dozen employees out there. And Shimano really is having difficulty. I talked to them at Sea Otter, and they're like, wow, the e-bike industry is declining, or the revenue. And I'm like, that's because your product is not competitive. You have no battery options. Your motor is so limited. Bosch is taking their lunch money away. 90% of the companies I know are moving from Shimano motors to Bosch motors. So anyway, piece of news there for Shimano. Will they stay in the e-bike market? I'm not sure. I think they're questioning that themselves, because it's so hard for them, the way they're structured. Releasing XT, XTR every 5 years, that's not going to work in the e-bike market. It's moving so fast. And Bosch has really, that's why they're on generation 5 now of progress. And now there's a new player. The Chinese are coming, DJI is coming, and they're coming in strong. Whatever you thought, the Chinese copycats are going to offer, they are way beyond that now. They are innovating at 1,000 miles per hour. Anyway, so hard times for Shimano. So speaking of Shimano, one of their clients was Santa Cruz Bikes, who now left them. Santa Cruz is recalling their Heckler E-MTB, some of their E-MTB batteries, because they are overheating. So please take note. I'll have a link in the description if you are affected. So these are the newer Heckler 720 watt-hour batteries made by a Taiwan company called Darfon, and they're overheating. And I don't know the extent of it, but something to look at. They'll give you a new battery. They'll address it pretty quickly. And it's unfortunate, this is part of the Shimano problem. They would not offer bigger batteries than 630, and they would not offer extenders and all that. So companies like Santa Cruz and Canyon had to go to a third party, have their own batteries created, so they would have something competitive in the marketplace. And now it's causing problems because, there's not enough testing that was done on these batteries, these third-party batteries. And speaking of Canyon is in a whole lot of pain. So they have the Spectral batteries that were being recalled, and or it was a stop use order. And finally, that was 5 months ago. Finally, they started shipping the batteries to customers who were couldn't ride their bikes last month, and I think that's ongoing. The 700 and 900 batteries, but their news is crazy. They just announced that they are now selling bikes, some bikes through Amazon, Amazon.com. And I'm like, wow, that is big news. And they say some bikes, but I went there and it's most of their bikes. The only thing that I didn't see was the Spectrals ons, which are on recall anyways. But the Strive ons are there, and so many other of their other bikes. Maybe not their hottest bikes, but a lot of their bikes are being sold on Amazon. And is this a good move? It's a tough move, even for a direct-to-consumer company. I was like, why are they doing this? What is driving this decision? Because Amazon, I use them like most of you guys do. I know you guys are receiving Amazon packages this week. They are the devil. They are awful. They are awful. Let me tell you, they're price gouging. They're eliminating your local retailer. And when you search for an e-bike, Canyon doesn't show up. When you search for Canyon bike, all you see is a bunch of garbage, bunch of cheap options that they have very high margins on. And then, so I'm not a fan of Amazon moving forward in the future. But Canyon is going through them. And I looked at their offering, their example, and they have a whole store of, but what's cool is you order a bike, it'll be here tomorrow. And Canyon knows what they're doing on direct-to-consumer shipping. And for them, it's probably a form of advertising that they're doing this, or a form of desperation, because I know they have to give Amazon a whole lot of money, 20% margin just for taking the order. And you could do the same order through Amazon, through Canyon website itself. Okay, so that's the other piece of news. Next piece of news is Pierre Mobility pulls out of e-bike market and bike business with GasGas and Husqvarna. So Pierre Mobility has a lot of motorcycles and e-bikes, GasGas and Husqvarna, and there's difficulty for sure, but there's a sign of life, but they're just gonna cancel those two lines of bikes. This company is losing billions of dollars, so they're trying to retrench and get back to profitability. Another piece of news is Kent Bicycles is halting Chinese imports. And what they do with these imports is they have frames and components from China, and then they assemble it at a factory in South Carolina. They employ about 100 people, and they said, we can't do this anymore right now. So they're kind of putting things on pause. A lot of companies are doing this, putting things on pause, stopping their China orders until this whole China mess of tariffs gets sorted out. And because of that, jobs will be lost, and unless they can figure something out. So if you know Kent, they do a lot of these low-end bicycles. A lot of the kids' bikes are by Kent. They made well over 1 million bikes over the few years. Next piece of news is Revel bikes going out of business. I have a piece of news here, a whole detail on what's going on. They owed like $8 million, and the bank said no more money. Your pipeline doesn't look good. This is not sustainable. And I was like, why are they announcing out of business when it was just handled weird? Because normally you find a way to appease your creditors and to rebuild the brand and keep your employees. But they just straight out said to all the dealers, we're going out of business. Anyway, there was a sign of life on that, in that their old CEO, Ben Coates, put on his LinkedIn that, it's his last day at Revel Bikes, but fortunately, Revel has found new ownership, giving some of the people, the brand, and the Revel Bikes owners potential for a bright future. So he just leaked this out on his LinkedIn. Another strange move. Why do you do this? But on MTBR, my partner leaked, sent Josh, and there's no other information other than this LinkedIn post. So what's happening is they probably have a new owner, a new investment that can sustain some form of the company where they get to use the patents and the brand and the customers. And this is, at the end of the day, very cool if they can make it happen. And what you do is the $8 million, you give them pennies to the dollar instead of zero, which is better. Just classic bankruptcy. But you get to sustain the asset and kind of give it more life. More important to me is all those people who own Revel bikes, now they'll at least have something to bank on. That lifetime warranty, maybe it won't be, instead of going to zero, maybe it won't be so lifetime, but you can have parts and kind of a growth upgrade path for your brand loyalty with Revel. Next piece of news is I did a whole article on it. At Riva de Garda, Bosch announced that what we all suspected, what I was leaking out, was that they are going to upgrade their motor. The CX5 motor is going to get upgraded from 85 newton meters of torque to 100 newton meters of torque, from 600 watts to 750 watts. And it's going to happen to all those bikes already sold out there. All you need to do is do a firmware update on your app. So very cool. The bad part of this is the CX4 users, you just bought your bike last week, has a CX4. You don't get this upgrade. You don't get the 85 to 100. So it's unfortunate, but Bosch did a guerrilla move. They inserted a more powerful magnet and gearing in their CX5 motor, 6 months ago, but they didn't announce it. The reason they did it is so they could kind of change the bolt pattern, make the new motor fit, and have something to combat the DJI motor and the new specialized motor, which are well over 100 newton meters of torque. So interesting development and pretty good, and it's testing out very well. The only sad part is it's going to be available only in July. So we don't know when in July, but far down the road. Why they're waiting so long? Hey, if this firmware update's available, just give it to us now. The motor is not going to change because it's already in my bike. I have like 3 or 4 bikes here in the stable with the CX5 motor. So it's a nice little boost. They also have a display that's way 100 times better than their current 5 LED battery display. 2 more pieces of news. One is I'm loosely organizing a 10,000 feet of climbing bike ride at SoCal Demo Forest, something we used to do like 20 years ago. We kind of resurrected it last year, and it's going again. So the cool thing is you can do 5K climbing, 10K climbing, or 15K climbing, all right? And all on regular analog bikes. And what's really cool is most of the guys and gals who do this are riding e-bikes on a regular basis. And it's kind of our statement that, hey, we still like to pedal, we still like to get fit, and in a big way, scratch that itch when needed. And bikes are cool. Bikes are fun. Fun, pain, and that's kind of what that's my mix of biking. So it's going to be May 25, Sunday at 7:30 in the morning. Expect to be riding 10 hours or more if you want the big altitude gain. So whole lot of pain, no batteries allowed, except maybe on your SRAM derailleur. And the last piece of news is a personal note from my local bike shop, Trailhead Cyclery. It was started in 1996 by a fellow named John Thompson, and he passed away a few weeks ago, and he passed on the torch to 1996. By the way, is cool because that's when I started MTBR. So we kind of followed the same journey. I've been in touch with John Thompson over the years, and he passed the torch to his son, Lars Thompson, who has been so good as our bike shops have gone out of business. They've really kind of survived and thrived because of some real good community work that they do. But the bad news doesn't stop there, because just a few weeks ago, their shop manager for the last decade, Scott Charnopis, passed away. He went to work bright and early and just got to work all by himself, 7 a.m. or something. And on the cameras, he just fell on the floor and collapsed, and he passed away. He had a problem with his arteries and his heart. So, and then another piece of news: a customer and a local community icon who leads a lot of local rides in Henry Co. Ben, I'll just call him Ben. I won't say his last name right now. You might know him. He passed away too. He just retired. He was full of life, you know, probably just a couple years older than me, so strong, and he passed away with a heart attack, the widowmaker. So my message here is twofold. One is really live every day as if it were your last, and appreciate, get out there. You know, you must be present to win outside. And but that doesn't end there. The other thing is take care of yourself. Take care of your heart, your body. See your doctor. The heart is the common thing called widowmaker, because we are so healthy, or we try to be healthy, but it can mask problems that we have in our ticker. And I've known at least 12 incidents where people have passed where they seem so healthy. So get your EKG, get your stress test on the treadmill from your doctor. If you have any kind of history, get your arteries can be clogged. You just don't know it. Your fitness is masking it. So because when this happens, most often there's no warning sign, and you know they can't help you. They can't revive you. So twofold: live every day, but also take care of yourself. If you have an injury, a nagging injury, go see the doctor. Be present, live well, but also take care of your body. Protect yourself, and really take all precautions. You don't want to die doing what you love to do. I hate that term. You know, you want to die of old age, like 90 or 100. On that note, I thank you very much for hanging out with me.